right, ladies and gentlemen of the media, welcome to this media briefing. The Excellencies are here. There will be a roving microphone for the Q&A session. The Minister of International Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, is going to make brief remarks capturing the discussions of the day. Then we're going to get into the Q&A session. Minister?
Thank you very much, DDG. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Thank you for your presence here. Just briefly to indicate that this is the BRICS meeting of foreign affairs ministers, and that the matters we've discussed are matters germane to the BRICS forum. We are not a meeting of any other forum. This is BRICS, and we've discussed BRICS business and the work that we do together as the 5 BRICS countries. So if you want to discuss other issues, that will be for you to discuss somewhere else. This is a meeting of BRICS foreign ministers. As you know, South Africa is the current chair of BRICS, and we have agreed the focus on BRICS and Africa as the key thematic area, focused on accelerating partnerships between Africa and the BRICS countries, as well as directing that partnership toward accelerated and inclusive growth and development, which is an important focus for all of us as the BRICS countries. We've had a very successful meeting under a number of thematic areas. We've also been briefed on preparations for the 15th BRICS Summit, which will be in August this year in Johannesburg, Gauteng province. We've also had a report on the work of the over 200 working group meetings, which are sectoral meetings of BRICS that include academics, think tanks in our various countries, arts and culture programs between various people-to-people exchange mechanisms. We've also referred to the growing interest in a number of other areas in which we did not previously have working groups, such as looking at BRICS working group on persons with disability, and looking at a stronger working group on medium and micro enterprises, looking at innovation and youth. So the scope of work has begun to really grow. We've also discussed the assignment you're all aware of, that the Sherpas had been tasked with, of looking at institutional development of BRICS or expansion. We have concluded that we haven't as yet got what we believe is a useful document that we could place before the heads of state. So more work will need to be done on this matter. It is still to be processed. And once we have a document that we believe offers clear guidance, we will then take that to the summit in August. We'd like that work to be concluded by the time that the summit sits. We've reported that the summit will include the usual program of the BRICS summit, with the invitation of the BRICS Plus and the outreach, which will include the various African countries will be invited, as well as our BRICS Plus members, the chairs of the various regional community bodies in different regions of the world. So we're going to have quite a significant presence of leaders as part of the BRICS Plus and outreach meetings component of the summit. So all is well in our deliberations as the BRICS forum, and we're proceeding to work toward the August summit. So I can now hand back to you We will release a joint statement that we've agreed later today. I don't want to delay you by reading through it. It's fairly long, but you will have it available to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We can have first question from Atim Tongana, Newsroom Africa, standing next to me.
Thank you so much, Clayson, and the ministers at large. My name is Atim Tongana from Newsroom Africa. So in the context of continuing Western sanctions on Russia, how open, even how committed are you as individual BRICS countries? How open are you to trading on other currencies outside of the dollar? Thank you.
This is a BRICS meeting, and as the BRICS family, we have discussed, along with the New Development Bank, we had one of the senior executives of the New Development Bank briefing our meeting on work that the bank has been doing, looking at the potential use of alternative currencies to the current internationally traded currencies, and looking at how we strengthen the arm of the BRICS Development Bank, and also ensure that we do not become victim to sanctions that have secondary effects on countries that have no involvement in issues that have led to those unilateral sanctions. So certainly this was discussed, and it is work that is being considered by the officials of the NDB and will be guided to them as to what the future models might be.
So we're having two questions for each minister. The second question to Minister Pandor will be from Bulelani from the SABC. There's a microphone next to you there.
Good evening, Minister, and to all the Foreign Affairs Ministers. My name is Bulelani from the SABC. Minister Pandor, I just want you to explain to South Africans the Gazette of Immunity and Privileges that was gazetted. Who does it cover for this meeting as well as the August BRICS Summit? Would that include the heads of state, particularly President Vladimir Putin? And secondly, what's your take on the court action that has been initiated relating to trying to force the government to make an arrest if President Putin does come to South Africa? Thanks.
Jason, you are very competent to answer that question because you've dealt with it over more than 5 days in the media. I don't know if Bulelani was awake when you made so many statements about the matter. So perhaps you could explain. It's a normal practice when countries host international conferences to issue such gazettes. Could you just explain?
No, actually, I was on SABC earlier today. We've explained that each time South Africa hosts an international conference or summit, we gazette diplomatic immunities and privileges. This is nothing out of the ordinary. We've done this previously when we hosted BRICS in 2018, in 2013, COP17, WSSD, and we also made the point, Bulelani, that these immunities that have been gazetted do not override any warrant that may be issued by any international tribunal against any attendee of any of the conferences that we're talking about. So that is your answer. We can have a bilateral after this if you want me to expand further than that. Okay, the next question will be from Anton.
Bulelani had asked two questions. What is my take on, I think he said, the DA court case? I don't have a take on it because the Justice Minister must address that. Should I be cited as a respondent? I'm not in receipt personally of the papers. The legal officers will advise as to how we respond.
Thanks, Minister. Anton?
Thank you. My name is Anton Zolotnitsky, Izvestia from Russia, and my question is to Minister Lavrov. So, as we see now, many countries declare their desire to be invited into the BRICS group, For instance, today you met with the delegation from Saudi Arabia, who also expressed their desire to do that. Could you please tell us about the progress that is being made in this direction, and why do you think BRICS attracts so many countries? Thank you.
Well, indeed, we discussed this issue, and I did discuss it with the minister from Saudi Arabia this morning. As regards the approach of BRICS, it is still being shaped, it's evolving, and the Sherpas reported to us about the results they reached at this stage, and the chair authorized them to continue after they have listened to comments which were made by each of us at the meeting. BRICS is a different structure. It's a new organization based on the principles of equality, mutual respect, consensus, non-interference, and strict adherence to the United Nations Charter, to all its principles in their interlinkages. It is not for BRICS, to pick and choose something which you like in the charter for this particular situation, and then to do the opposite for another situation. So it's, I think BRICS symbolizes the evolution of the multipolar world, which is talked about very often and more so, and the attraction to more than a dozen countries of BRICS is a testimony to that.
The next question is from Yuri.
Minister Lavrov, my question from Rossiyskaya Gazeta is about the information that we have read in the media about the BRICS summit allegedly being moved to China. What's your take on that?
Как я понимаю, эта новость была опубликована только в одной какой-то желтой английской газете, а я английских газет не читаю.
This information was published just in one British tabloid, and I don't read British papers.
Thank you very much, Minister. We're going to move to Julie from CGTN. There's a microphone next to you, or it's coming.
Good evening, ministers. I do think it's similar to what my colleague asked a little bit before, but this question is for the Vice Foreign Minister from China. So the August summit is being taunted as one of the most important ones. Could we ask you to comment if the BRICS will be expanding to other countries, and who will likely to be included, and what is the criteria? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And we all remember in 2017, it was the Xiamen meeting started the quote unquote the BRICS Plus model. And we can also recall in 2022 when China chaired the BRICS, the meetings or dialogues of the BRICS Plus was held in many areas. And so we can see that for the past years, the model of BRICS Plus developing very fast. And that was very well recognized by the BRICS countries, as well as the international community, and actually provided one platform for the solidarity cooperation between the developing countries and the emerging market economies. So we are very happy to see this kind of model has been developing in the right way. And last year, during the Beijing summit, the leaders of the BRICS reached consensus on the steps for the furthering of the expansion of the BRICS. And we are happy to see that more and more countries express their willingness to join us in the BRICS family. For China, we welcome the intention of those countries to join the BRICS, and we expect more countries to join our big family. And I think the BRICS countries is inclusive and pursue the road of opening up and also win-win cooperation. And this is in very sharp contrast to some countries' small circle. And so I believe the enlargement of the BRICS will be beneficial to the BRICS countries, beneficial to developing countries, and to increase the representation influence of this mechanism, and also to garner bigger power of the BRICS to serve the interests of developed countries and emerging market economies, as well as the international development cause. Thank you very much.
Said.
毛部长您好，我是凤凰市的蔡一德。My name is Said. I'm from Phoenix TV, China. My question is: some Western countries are trying hard to hold the emerging markets and developing countries to their point of view. So they appear to do this using various means, which comes at a risk of the development of those countries. My question is: in your view, how should the emerging markets and the developing countries deal with this matter? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. We've got the last two questions. Aisha Ismail.
Good evening. My name is Aisha Ismail from ENCA. I'd like to know from the ministers from India and Brazil your views on the expansion of the BRICS family.
We had a detailed discussion, as my colleague ministers told you. What happened last year was that the BRICS leaders had asked us to formulate the guiding principles, the standards, the criteria, and the procedures. This is still work in progress. So I think we are approaching this with a positive intent, with an open mind. And I also want you to appreciate that there are many aspects of it. One part of it is actually to consolidate how the existing BRICS members are working with each other. The second part of it is how the BRICS engages non-BRICS countries. And the third part of it is how we look at potential expansion. So, what will be the appropriate format for that is also something we need to work on. So, bottom line, I think, which Mr. Pandor and others also mentioned, is we're still working on it. The Sherpas have been tasked with it, and we'll have to see, what they come up with.
Well, thank you very much for your question. I don't have much more to add to what Minister Jaishankar said. I just would like to add a few considerations. First of all, that BRICS is a history of success. In 15 years, we made a lot of progress. We have now the NDB, the New Development Bank, which is very active and very important in fulfilling one of the objectives of this group. And the group is also, I said this during the meeting, as a brand and an asset. So we have to take care of it and see, because it means a lot, it represents a lot. I also mentioned that 31.5% of the world GDP is produced by the 5 countries of BRICS countries, which also have 40% of the world population. So it's a very important asset. And we are working, this is maybe why of this big success, that it's attracted the attention of many other countries in 15 years. So we are still, our Sherpas and ourselves, we are still working on this issue of the expansion. It's a work in progress. We have to advise our presidents for the coming summit in August in Johannesburg, and we are still studying. We discussed the number of different standards that would or issues that should be put into this discussion, and we send this work to the Sherpas to produce something and bring it to us later, and then we'll be able to inform our heads of states. Thank you.
The very last question for the evening before we conclude from Aljazeera.
Good evening, Famida Miller from Aljazeera. I wanted to respond to reaction from the various ministers, including the minister from Brazil, of reaction to the arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin.
The ICC.
They want you to answer. You spend sleepless nights thinking about it.
Well, this was a decision that was already explained by the spokesperson of the South African government. Normally take place in many countries, and heads of states are treated with a courtesy extension of privileges when they come to different countries. So, and besides that, it's a sovereign decision of the country, the hosting country, and of course also a sovereign decision of the invited country to come or not. But for us, it's I see it's very normal.
I think this is something we did not discuss as the BRICS foreign ministers, so I'm not sure that everybody has a response. And you asked the Minister of Brazil to respond on the matter, and I believe he has attempted to do so. So shall we leave it there? I have explained previously what South Africa is doing with respect to this, and I don't think, I think you can go back to the records of ENCA and you will find what we've said about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellencies. This marks the conclusion of the press briefing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.